Welcome to the Division 2 GameFace Footy Show. And what another big weekend of footy it's been in Division 2. Plenty to talk about tonight. Record numbers on the GameFace app. 12,000 people over the weekend. How good's that? In the under-19s, Red Hill undefeated and straight into the grand final. Coringal take on Rye again in the preliminary final. They had a slow start against Somerville but found a way to win. In the reserves, Coringal defeat top of the table Hastings. And they go into the grand final. Hastings now play Chelsea, who beat Dramana. Dramana out in straight sets. In the seniors, Red Hill break a 28-year drought, making the grand final after defeating Dramana. They got off to a slow start but dominated after quarter time. Langwarrin defeat an unimpressive Coringal to make the preliminary final. The boys from Langy are firing, a couple of serious injuries, but they won 6 in a row. Great to have Chris Holcomb and Tony Blackwood with us. Welcome, boys. Another huge weekend of footy in Division 2. And Chris, you fired up a few weeks ago regarding Langwarrin, as we're here in the Dan Lonergan Studio, and I named it the Dan Lonergan Studio tonight because we had to come up with a name, and I thought, why not?
Why not?
Let's be unoriginal. Now, you fired up against Langy a few weeks ago, and I think that their form has been as good as anything in the competition, and their good players are playing at the top of their game.
They are, aren't they? And it's good to see. You want all the sides to be playing at the best of their ability, which is what I stressed. Same as Pines in Division 1, Langy in Division 2.
And Hulks, we talked about leading into these finals that Chelsea and Coringal are both struggling. And we thought that Langwarrin, along with Red Hill and Dramana, were the form sides. And so far, those results have taken care of themselves.
We'll talk more about it later, but Brett Dunn did say at quarter time, and we went into the huddle, the coach and I, yesterday down at Rye, had a lovely day down there, and he said, your transition, boys, is not good enough at the moment. And that was their issue all day. I mean, they were run off their legs, particularly in the third quarter when Langy kicked 6 goals to 2. But we'll get to that in a second. But firstly, let's talk about the GameFace app. It had 12,000 impressions over the weekend, and for you, Blackers, that means 12,000 people visited the site. They got on and had a look, and that is wonderful for the companies we continue to develop. And next year, GameFace has been approved to work with the AFL Yarra Rangers competition, which is going to be the Outer East competition, which will have a lot of the teams in from the SEFNL. How are we going to fit all that in, Dan? Oh, we'll find a way. We'll find a way. With my maniacal work ethic and Coach's maniacal work ethic and your maniacal work ethic and Glenn's Tripoli maniacal work ethic, our boss, we'll find a way. He's a maniac in a very nice way. And so that's going to be great news for GameFace that we are going to be expanding. It certainly will be. Wandon, Ferny Creek. There goes the phone again. Jesus, can you believe it? Every single week. Mum, I'll call you back. That was my mother on that occasion. You know, she's 82. I think it's a good sign that she's ringing me and driving me mad when she's 82 years old. That's a good thing, even though she rings at inopportune times. But just wait, I'll probably get 3 or 4 calls from her. When I eventually answer the phone, no, this is true dinks, boys. When I answer the phone and we have a chat, you'll get another call 2 minutes later where she might tell you something similar but slightly different. And then she'll ring again and tell you something she's already told you. Her mind's pretty good, but every now and again she gets a bit forgetful. So when I speak to her, I mightn't speak to her for a couple of weeks, then I'll speak to her 4 times in 5 minutes, and that sort of takes care of everything. Dan. Yeah, she's rung twice in 3 weeks. Inopportune times. Thank you, Mum. I really appreciate that. And I've also been the man of the people this week, boys. I've been out and about having a look.
You have.
I'm very popular.
I actually spoke to a lot of people on the weekend at the footy, and you're the person they always ask about.
Do they?
Well, Flax has been around for a while, and they know him, but they're going, what kind of bloke is Dan Lonergan?
You say I'm the greatest bloke in the world?
Well, I say you're a bit of a flog.
Oh, that's good. Thank you very much. A lot of people might think that.
But you go over and talk to Dan, and you make up your own assumption. That's what he says.
I am an eccentric. There's absolutely no doubt about that. I'm one of the strangest men of all time. You've only got to go back a week when I went to Berwick, and they thought, this poor bloke, he's meant to be calling the footy, and he's got the blood pouring down the head. We saw it on the footy show last week, and they said, how are you? And I said, I am $1 million, despite all this blood pouring down my head with my nooks and crannies and crevices right in the middle of the scone.
Did the boot fall on you?
No, the boot did not fall on me. I knocked my head on the front door. That's all. Yeah. But that's me.
Oh, yeah.
As you know, I'm an unmade bed, but they did help me, the Berwick people, so congratulations to them.
Good people down there at the Berwick Footy Club.
As they've made their way through, of course, to a second semi-final in the SEFNL. But let's look at the Mornington Peninsula Football League in second division, and in the under-19s, will start on Saturday at Hastings, and Red Hill took on Rye, who surprised everyone by beating Coringal last week by 1 point, and Red Hill just got the job done again.
Yep.
96-51. They just won the flag last year. We spoke to one of their players, their captain, last week at Red Hill, and they're an impressive side. The only issue I've got, Hulks, and you've been a coach, and you two Blackers, 1 game in a month?
Yeah,
but if you're good enough, that shouldn't be an issue, should it?
And you talk about those games leading up to them. I mentioned this. They played Hastings, who only had 15. They had to top up there. Devon Meadows forfeited, so they didn't have a game. Their last game of the year. They had a bit of a scratch match between themselves the week leading up to last week's game. So their form hasn't been great. But Rye, you know.
They got a few back, didn't they?
They got a few back.
Seniors.
Yeah, they got a few back. And look, I think that game, you know, Red Hill obviously going to the grand final, and they got a wonderful bunch of young kids down there.
Johnson kicked 7. They just had a plethora of goal kickers again.
Son of Nick. I spoke to him on Saturday night.
Oh,
you know
Nick
you know Jono? Yeah, so Josh Johnson, he's he's under 17 still.
Is he?
Yeah, he's about 6'5", I think, and runs like a
6'5".
But Hulks, under 17s, they shouldn't have under 17s anymore. It should be under 18s football.
Well, that probably proves it.
That's right.
That's the best game that second division have got in an under 19 competition, and a 16-year-old goes out and kicks 7.
Yeah, but if you're any good, Hulks, they should be playing senior football.
Because the TAC Cup is under 18s, isn't it?
That's right.
You've got to adhere to that.
So why be under the AFL banner, which we are, and we've got an under 19 competition when the AFL have an under 18 competition?
I've been very open about this. There's a lot wrong with the administrative structure of AFL Victoria in a lot of ways. The way they're trying to do things. I like the way they want divisional football in a lot of the regions, and many of the regions around Victoria need it and need it badly. I mean, I'll keep going back to Bendigo because my family are based in Kyneton, and they urgently need somehow the Heathcote League and the Loddon Valley Leagues to join forces as part of divisional football with the Bendigo League. Yeah. But maybe a couple of the teams, such as Gunbower, it's probably too far away from Bendigo, maybe joining forces with the District League near Echuca and Rochester, etc. So that's what they probably need to do. But other than that, I mean, they've got to start looking at the future of the league and at the future of competitions. And I'm not sure that AFL Victoria address issues enough. But I agree with you about the under 18s. Just going back to the under 18s. We need to have an under-18 competition at local level.
After that geography lesson, that was fantastic. That was really good.
You lost me after Kyneton. But
you guys don't get out enough. I know you get on your boat a lot. You could tell me any river and any estuary in Victoria, but you couldn't tell me where
there's no fishing
the other side of Melbourne is.
There must be a Happy Hands club in Kyneton, though.
Yeah, but you're right, Dan. Idiot. Like the AFL South East have opted for under 19s to keep kids in football for a bit longer. Hulks, is that
backfired though? Backfired big time because kids are getting out before they even get to under 19s now.
Yeah. So I think that it should go back to 16s at junior footy clubs, and then it goes to under 18s.
Yep.
And then if you really want to look into it, you know, in cricket you have first, seconds, and thirds. Do you have a senior team, and then the seconds and thirds are either full of young and...
I think if the kids are good enough, they've got to play first.
Of course I do.
Yeah.
Of course I do, but not every kid can play seniors.
It's a fair string to... fair, I don't know what you call that, but I don't know if football's ready for that sort of thing, Blackers. I think they've just got the age wrong.
Yeah,
take it back to 18s, TAC. So.
But anyway, Rye have got to play Coringal this week. Coringal found a way to win. They weren't very impressive against Somerville early.
Yep.
It wasn't a good start. They were looking for a much better start, and they didn't get it, but they stormed away in the second half. So the second half was a lot better, and they'd be quite happy with that, because I think if anyone is a chance against Red Hill, and I know Red Hill still beat them comfortably, but they did, I think, at one stage have a 4 or 5 goal lead against Red Hill Coringal during the season and got beaten by 6 or 7 goals as Red Hill ran over the top of them. It might be the Coringal Football Club.
Dan, 2 weeks ago, Rye beat Coringal in the last kick of the day, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So Coringal still need to beat Rye. So
they get a few back? Well, they get a few back from the seniors. So.
Well,
they might. Well, anyway, we spoke to Mike Treat after the game, or actually half-time in the senior game yesterday, and terrific man, Mike. He's done a great job with that team, and look, he was not madly in love with what his team dished up, but he's happy to be through to a preliminary final. Well, last week it was disappointing for Coringle. They got beaten by Rye by 1 point. And I know that my boss, Glenn Carter, asked Mike Treat for an interview, and Mike said, not this week, I think words to that effect. But he's happy to oblige today after his team has made their way through to the preliminary final. Winners and grinners, Mike?
Yeah, definitely. You put that in a nice light. They probably weren't my words to cast last week, but yeah, no, I wasn't too happy after the game last week. But no, good response by the boys today, so I was wrapped. Learned a lot of valuable lessons just from the intensity of a final. You know, playing junior finals, coming into a senior club and playing under 19s, a lot quicker, a lot bigger bodies. The ball moves around a lot quicker. It wasn't easy conditions last week. But yeah, just to learn that invaluability of putting your head over the footy and starting with the basics. You know, a few heart-to-hearts this week and a lot of honesty. A lot of blokes really challenged their teammates, not just me. And they trained the house down. We brought a couple of blokes in that have come off injury that were huge for us today. Just stronger bodies and harder over the footy, and the result showed. So it was great.
So Mike Treat, of course, having a chat about the Coringle Football Club and the under-19s, and it was a performance that wasn't outstanding, but they won by 26 points, and a good effort by Somerville, Tone, because Crib Point were favourites to beat them in the elimination final, and Somerville should have won by a lot more. They kicked 5-22, and again, their kicking wasn't brilliant in that game, but they were pretty competitive for 3 quarters.
Some have always had good kids, and so I mean, Coringle over the last few years have started to really develop their kids, and I think it's wonderful. They've been the second best side all year. I know Rye beat them in the qualifying final, but I think that Coringle can turn the tables and beat Rye this week.
Yeah, I'm with you, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, in the reserves on Saturday, it was a low-scoring scrap. That's the way Coringle likes it in the reserves. Luke Forsyth, their coach, a former Brisbane Lions listed player, has done a good job of that team. They're through to the grand final. They beat Hastings by 3 points. Hastings finished the home and away season on top of the table. They'll get another crack at it, but well done to Coringle in a game that Hastings were with them all day and kicked 1 3-1 goal in the last quarter, constantly peppered the goals, but just couldn't find a way home.
Holks, what sort of blokes could come back from the Coringle senior side? Did Kelly play on the weekend?
Actually, a few, because obviously when we were down there last, didn't they have like 48 that they ran through their senior side? Yes, they did. So with that influx or that turnover of players, you've got to think that they've been a lot qualified. And
I'm pretty sure that Dunny, if they were a long-term injury player, they always came back through the twos.
Yeah. No,
so there'd be a few blokes that would be available, in my eyes, Dan.
Well, it'll be interesting because they've done a good job to get into the grand final. They've got a couple of weeks off.
And Luke Forsyth's done a great job.
He has.
So he might be a bloke who's ready to go and coach his own senior football club at some stage, Holt.
He may be, Blackers. He may be. I haven't thought of that one before, but...
Well, you know...
There's a few clubs still needing coaches. Now, his old team was Somerville, was it not?
Yeah, he did. He spent some time at Summy.
Yeah.
But, Summy seems to have a lot of players on the move at the moment, Dan.
Yeah, they urgently need a coach, and we'll talk to one of their players very, very shortly. Now, they'll be playing Hastings in the elimination final, doing battle against Chelsea. And what a great win that was. They've eliminated Dramana in straight sets. Again, they started well. They didn't start as well as they did with a huge win last week in the elimination final against Langwarrin, but they did more than enough to win comfortably. It was a good third quarter by Dramana. They fought back, but then Chelsea's experience and their stingy defence got them over the line. And well done to the veteran Steve Gardner. He's a very, very good coach. We'll get to him in a minute. But just before we hear from Steve Gardner, Luke Forsyth and Mitch Kellerman spoke to GameFace after the win on Saturday for Coringle, who are through to the reserves grand final.
I'm here with the game-winning hero Wispy, who, with about under a minute to go, he's got someone holding the ball and kicked the winning goal. How's that, mate?
No, it was a great feeling. It's hot footy, so I just wanted to get in there and get the ball. And then I didn't hear him scream holding the ball, so I just walked up and asked for the ball. I don't think it was me that tackled at the start. No, but just went back and I've kicked a few set shots after training, so it's just doing the same thing like that. Just go back and kick it.
So how were you feeling then? Was heart racing?
I just told myself to chill out. You've kicked these goals before, like just normal routine, and don't put that much thought into it.
Just another day at the office.
Yeah, I knew the wind was coming across, so I just go right-hand goalpost and let it just work its way through.
Family affair there with Kellerman and Forsyth both being cousins, but very happy that the Coringal Footy Club find their way into a grand final in the reserves. Now, Steve Gardner, we just mentioned Chelsea beating Dramana by 22 points. It's 2 wins in a row, and he seems really happy, boys, being the underdog and knowing that every week it's a last chance saloon and they're playing like that. And he said the defence in particular was outstanding. He was a very happy man when I got a chance to chat to him in the rooms after a raucous version of their club song. Steve Gardner, 2 down, 2 to go. You're tasting something special?
Oh, absolutely. It's been a just riding the crest of the wave at the moment. Look, the players are really enjoying it, and good luck to them. It's been fun so far.
You're obviously very good at instilling self-belief. How hard as a coach, though, is it to instil self-belief into a team?
Oh, look, I'm a big believer. If you keep it simple, the instructions nice and easy, compose yourself, the players will react the same way. So, look, the thing I like about this group, they respond to anything that comes before them, and as a coach, that's all you ask, and they're an easy bunch to coach. They're fantastic.
Steve Gardner there, and one of the veterans and one of the good men of footy. He's done a lot for that Chelsea Football Club. His son, of course, has played a lot of good footy in the seniors, and they're a good side. They want to play for him, they want to win for him, and they've now won 2 in a row, and you'd have to give them a chance against Hastings, wouldn't you?
I think if you go back over the tape, I tipped that last week, mate.
You did?
Yeah, I was all over it. I thought that Dramana looked tired coming off the ground after that final last week. And I thought Chelsea had the momentum. I wasn't wrong, was I?
You were not wrong.
They certainly sang that
well,
song.
you're wrong sometimes, but you weren't wrong then. You should have heard the version of the song. The senior players were there. I saw Curtis Bywater. He was on fire. And I thought the Lang Warren version of their theme song last week was unbelievable. And then I heard the Chelsea theme song of the reserves, and I thought that might have just pipped it. Ooh. But wait until you see a bit later the version of Lang Warren after they won yesterday in the seniors. How good that was. That was unbelievable. And it actually fogs up. Coach was doing all the filming and it fogs up because the beer and everyone was throwing the beer up in the air, and it actually looked like
that.
No, I'm just giving you an example of the beer frothing up, if you know what I mean. It probably doesn't look good. It's probably a little bit like the showers at Happy Hands, isn't it? A lot of ways. But anyway, we'll move right along. We'll take a break, and that wasn't a very good attempt at humour, was it? We'll be back with the seniors. Plenty to talk about in just a second on the GameFace Footy Show, Division 2. St Andrews Brewery, using the finest ingredients, ensuring each beer is full of flavour and character.
Frankston RSL, Frankston's function and restaurant specialist.
In the second week of the Division 2 finals goal kicking, looking at that table, Zach Andrew Warther of Langwarrin kicked 2 to move to 5. Curtis Bywater of Chelsea, of course, will stay on 4, his team out of the race. Robbie McEwen of Coringal kicked 4, despite his team's big loss in the semi-final against Langwarrin. John Ross of Red Hill kicked 2 to move to 3, 1 game to go, the grand final. Kai Whitfield of Langwarrin, 2 to go to 3. Nick Tuddenham, unfortunately, his season is over. Langwarrin's season will continue. He suffered a bad knee injury yesterday. He kicked 2. He's on 3 goals. And Ben Holmes of Dramana, despite his team's loss, kicked 3. In the reserves, Chris Charity of Chelsea kicked 3 to go to 6. Brad Okapinti of Coringal kicked 2 to move to 5. John Marshall of Dramana, 2 to be on 5, and his season is now over. And Luke Clark of Chelsea also kicked 2 to be on 5 as his team is into a preliminary final. In the under-19s goal kicking, Alex Okapinti of Coringal, another 4-goal haul. He's on 8. They're in the preliminary final. Dylan Allen of Rye, another chance, kicked 5. He's on 7 as his team is in a preliminary final. And Josh Johnson of Red Hill, they've only played 1 game, but what a game it was. He kicked 7 as they marched into a grand final in a fortnight's time. Welcome back to the GameFace Footy Show, Division 2 from the Dan Lonergan Studio at Dandenong South. And let's look at the seniors now, boys, in Division 2. We'll start with the second semi on Saturday at Hastings. Dramana had the week off. They started the better, 3-1 to fall behinds, but Red Hill put the game to bed with a huge second quarter, and Dramana just couldn't get their way back into it.
And the thing with Red Hill, I felt on that weekend, they wasted a lot of opportunities in front of goals, Dan, because...
Should have won by a lot more time.
Well, I just think that, they blazed away, and there was a lot of scoring opportunities that should have gone through the middle of the sticks.
That's finals, though, sometimes. You give yourself opportunities.
It was a great day for football. It was a big open deck. Pretty spongy, though, the Hastings ground.
Really?
Yeah.
What did you feel at quarter time? 3-1 to fall behinds.
Oh, it was a good start by Dramana.
It was very good. But I was speaking to Jonas Siverson on Saturday night, actually, who was best on ground.
He was. Got 6 votes and got 5 the previous week. Yeah.
He's a good player.
He's a good player. He's a good kid. He's got a lot going for him. But the thing that and it resonated with me, was they've got momentum as a side. They've gone through and they had a couple of weeks where they've built up to this. So as a team, they feel like they're on a roll. Dramana, on the other hand, come back in off a week's break, which doesn't look like it did them any favours. So it looks
I think
got them through.
And maybe they needed the run, Dramana.
I think that. Yeah, I think it's a great. It's wonderful for Red Hill Football Club. It's wonderful for all those people involved. But I also think that it's not going to hurt Dramana.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think at all. I think if they had gone into this and won this game and then gone into the grand final, then they've played 2 games in 5 weeks.
Well, I mean, they've lost 1 game all year, and that was to Red Hill by a goal. I mean, just their second defeat. Yeah. I think it'll do them more good than harm in a lot of ways, and we were lucky enough
they had a lot of blokes that didn't play a big role.
No,
Ethan
they
Johnson,
started well, and
Sam
they
Fowler,
just couldn't keep going.
Those small players, I think that Wheeler wasn't as predominant as he's been all year.
Ben Holmes kicked 3, but didn't get enough support.
Yeah, but Jonas Siverson was outstanding on.
Whereas Red Hill had an even spread. They went very well. Some of their players that are rolling, like John O'Ross, is in great form. Didn't he love a goal?
Yeah,
he does.
But he's a burst player. Yeah. He probably doesn't get the consistency throughout the. And yes, he kicked a couple of good goals, and the one from the boundary line was a belter.
But you know who else I love? Who every time you see him on Team of the Week, Jocko Mitchell. I love that name. But I've been watching him the last couple of weeks. He's a ball magnet. He just keeps getting the ball.
Jocker.
No one goes near him.
So it'd be Jock, but he's just
Jake. His name.
It's Jake, is it?
Jake Mitchell and Dan, one of the best young kids, and he's a lovable boy, mate.
Just a ball magnet.
Likes a good time.
He's a left footer, and he always racks them up.
Yeah. Well, he's a very important player to that team as they're into a grand final now. Ricky Johnson, coach of Dramana, was, of course, having a look at his opposition yesterday at Rye, whether it would be Langwarrin or whether it would be Coringal. And
I reckon he would have been focusing more on Langwarrin.
We were lucky enough to catch up with Ricky, and look, he said they didn't play their best football, and they've got a lot of improvement in them before next week. We've got the coach of Dramana, Ricky Johnson. They've had an outstanding year, but Ricky, 24 hours after losing to Red Hill, what are your thoughts now?
Yeah, look, we've got some things we definitely need to clean up. We didn't play that well yesterday. We probably didn't work hard enough. Red Hill were definitely the better side on the day, but the beauty of having the double chance is that we get to come back tomorrow and kind of arrest all the issues that we had yesterday and put our best foot forward, and we're fairly confident we'll do that.
Very even keel, Ricky Johnson. Doesn't seem to panic too much. He was still wearing shorts. He wears shorts all the time because that's what he does. He works at a gym.
He's a fit fella.
Yeah, he's very, very fit. And look, he knows that it wasn't a good day for them, even though they started okay. They weren't able to sustain it. And I think deep down, he didn't admit it, but I think he probably feels like we feel that maybe they needed to have that loss to make them better for next week, and they'll make sure that they're working pretty hard on the things that went wrong.
I read into that he wasn't too concerned.
Yeah, but
I don't think he should be.
Oh, well, he's still got to get over Langwarrin, who are in wonderful form, and it's going to be at Somerville. It's a ground that would suit, I think, Dramana, because it's very similar to the Dramana footy ground.
You don't think it'll suit Langy as much? Langy's outside run's very good, isn't it? That's the key. We'll speak more about the Langy game in just a second, but they're going so well this year that they've come from the clouds to be in contention to win a premiership, and they've already started recruiting for next year, and they're pillaging the Somerville Football Club a little bit, aren't they? Billy Rolfe, one of Somerville's best players, is a Langwarrin boy. He played his junior football there. We interviewed him on GameFace last week at the elimination final. He's coming across.
Is he a He's a
Langwarrin boy.
Is he a one-pointer? No, Tim McGuinness is a Langwarrin boy.
No, so is Billy Rolfe. Really? He's a Langwarrin boy.
I thought he'd come.
He lives in Langwarrin.
Oh.
And Tim McGuinness, who played his junior footy at Langwarrin, he wasn't too keen to have a chat to us and pretended that he wasn't Tim McGuinness. But his girlfriend said, pull the other one, Tim, or shut up, Tim, or words to that effect, and basically dobbed him in. So we were able to have a chat to him and had a great chat to Tim McGuinness about changing clubs.
You've been the man of the people, though.
Man of the
we'll be able
people.
to draw that in.
But Coach was the one who prompted him to do it. He was happy to do it.
Mate,
He was a bit nervous early days, but once you have a professional like me talking to them, they're always happy to have a chat, aren't they? I'm such a friendly person. And anyway, we were able to have a good chat to Tim McGuinness, and he told us why he's leaving Somerville and joining Langwarrin next season. One of the gun midfielders in the competition is swapping clubs next year. Tim McGuinness, he's heading across to Langwarrin, watching his beloved Langwarrin, his new club, doing battle in the semi-finals. I bet you, Tim, you'd love to be out there, wouldn't you?
Yeah, definitely. It's been a few years since finals. We've been struggling down at Summy lately, so made the jump over to Langwarrin, the junior club, so excited to be here next year. I thought my time at Summy was up. There's been a few changes down at the club, and yeah, it's just not what it was back in the day, so I thought I'd jump ship to Langy, my old home club.
How do you know when your time is up at a certain club?
Oh, you're just not enjoying it as much. The training level wasn't really good. Some nights we'd probably have 10 senior blokes at training, and yeah, it just wasn't what I was used to down there, really.
For a man who didn't want to come on, a very honest Tim McGuinness is one of the best midfielders in the competition. That'll just add to Langwarrin next year. We mentioned Billy Rolfe, of course. Nick Tuddenham has done his knee in the semi-final win on the weekend, so he's out for about 12 months.
Jesse Murphy.
Yeah, he is. But Jesse Murphy's still hoping to play next week. I said, how's the shoulder? He said, I'm still hoping to play. We'll leave it at that. I think you guys know what that means.
Yes. Physio? Yes. He'll have treatment 2 or 3 times a day.
I think what you'll find too is that a Malfi will go from Frankston Bombers to Langwarrin as well. That'll be released, I think, when they'll finish, yes. But he's a Langwarrin, he's another one-pointer.
He's a one-pointer. So
they're looking good, aren't they? Everyone wants them. Wants to go there, don't they? Everyone wants to join Langwarrin.
And you've got to give it to Josh and Blake.
They've done a wonderful job.
But they've made it a wonderful environment for young people to go to. Their junior football club over the weekend, Dan, won 5 premierships. 5 premierships. So on Sunday night, I know that the senior football club went over to the junior football club, spent 15-20 minutes there, congratulated the young boys, which was a wonderful feat in itself, because as a community you need to be embracing. They've all bought in. I think Norm Whiteside, from the top being the president, has also done a great job to develop the two clubs together. For a long time, the Langwarrin Junior Club wasn't a great place to be, and the two clubs were separate. They were divided.
That's right, but now they seem to be together, and that's why the senior team's starting to have success. I mean, they were outstanding yesterday against Coringle. I mean, Coringle I thought were pretty good in the first quarter, and Brett Dunn was a bit disappointed with their lack of transitional run. He said that needed to improve, but it never got any better. They got the first goal of the second quarter, and then Langy got the last 3 goals of the second quarter and then dominated the third. They lost Jesse Murphy, who's involved in a collision, a pretty tough collision behind the play in the third quarter, and then Nick Tuddenham did his knee. And even though they were down 2 rotations and they had the first 2 goals scored against them in the last quarter, you always felt they were safe, and then they had enough run to get over the line quite comfortably. They were terrific.
I was very surprised with that when I heard it. Has Coringle's transitional run been good at any stage this year?
Well, I wouldn't have thought.
They can't kick goals. They haven't kicked goals for the last 8 weeks.
That's been their problem, hasn't it? Their inability to kick goals.
And every time they try to move Burke down forward, they'd lose it out of the midfield. So poor old Berkey would have to then...
Well, he tried to take it on.
Yeah, well...
He and their captain tried to take it on but didn't get enough support.
Also with their side, having a look at it, the knock on them was that their transition wasn't good enough, or they hadn't had enough outside run from the week before. Dunny was coming up back off a hamstring injury, and Lukey Van Ray had missed a lot of footy too through. So they put those two in as 30-plus-year-olds who don't cover the ground.
Well, there was talk that they had too many guys that had been carrying hamstrings that weren't quite fit enough.
They obviously rolled the dice like you do sometimes in finals on the back.
Well, they had to.
But they're slow, aren't they?
But they were slow. They were never going to quicken up, and that's where they lacked.
And Dunn started on Gerard Brown, right? And
I thought he was close to best on ground. What I love about Josh Beard is, I mean, the theme song again was as good as anything we've seen. What I was trying to explain before was Beer was being thrown everywhere in the rooms during the theme song. And then Josh sits them all down. I mean, they sing the theme song magnificently. Then Josh sits them down, has a bit of a chat, and then he says, OK, guys, let's pick the best player on the ground. So all the peers, all the players that play get to pick the best player on the ground.
Wonderful.
Now, not many players voted for Gerard Brown. They voted for Big Red Matthew Norton. They gave it to young Michael Parker in the end, and we'll hear from him in a second. He was terrific, and he was itching to get back on. He went off as one of the 2 rotations and said, I've got to get back on, but the play was on the other side of the ground the last 2 or 3 minutes. But I thought Gerard Brown was as good as anyone out in that ground, controlling things at half forward. He was brilliant.
Gerard, isn't it?
Gerard.
Gerard.
And his father had been over from Kalgoorlie for a couple of weeks, so that had inspired him to play well as well. But they look really good. They're going to be hard to beat. It'll be an interesting match against Dramana. I thought they were fantastic, but we were lucky enough, and we thank the Langwarrin Football Club. They've been very good to us. But we spoke to a number of people after the game. We start with Josh Beard, then Blake McCormack, their playing coach, Matthew Norton, Big Red, Michael Parker, who was best on ground, and their captain, Blake Harkness, along with Shane Patterson, who we got straight after the siren.
Who didn't you interview, Dan?
Barack Obama. 6 weeks ago, Langwarrin were 2.5 games out of the top 5 and seemingly out of the finals race. Now they're 1 game away from playing in a grand final. Josh Beard, their coach, must be the most delighted, satisfied man in Mornington Peninsula football. Josh, congratulations. What a turnaround.
No, massive turnaround, mate. I think we sort of made a focus that every game for us was going to be an elimination final from 6 weeks ago. So bit of a motto we've had on the board each week's an elimination final, and even though it was for both sides, obviously we were really confident coming today that 6 in a row we could do it again. Leading by example again, Blake Harkness. Blake, can you taste it now?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great feeling around the club at the moment. I mean, all the boys are getting around each other, and now we're in a prelim, so just another great result today for the club.
Oh yeah, we try and say they like to try and raise the bar every week, so I guess now getting against Dramana, it's probably been the best fight all year, and try and raise it again.
Did you have to make lots of changes when you lost 2 key players in Tuddenham? Looks like he might have done his knee, unfortunately, and Jesse Murphy's hurt his shoulder. Yeah. I mean, you're on top in the game at that stage. You didn't seem to panic at all. You just felt that, OK, one soldier down, another one has to come in and play the role.
Yeah, unfortunately for Tuddy, it looks like he snapped his patella, so probably a 12-month injury. Yep. But the group's that tight that when we spoke about, what we've got to do for one another when we grouped up, we just said we just got to dig that little bit deeper, and if we can all just lift our performance by, 2%, 3%, it just covers that bloke that's gone off. So, they're a tight group, and our tackle pressure is unreal, and we're just stoked, and bring on Dramana on Saturday.
Not too much would change really. I mean, we'll get a good recovery in tomorrow. Probably go down the pools or down to the beach, and then a light training session, I dare say, will be Tuesday, and hit the track again Thursday and get ready for Saturday. So not too much will change. We'll just do our things that we can and get it right.
Yeah, well done to Langwarrin. A great day, and they know they've got a big job in front of them. They talk about team spirit, they talk about self-belief, and they've won 6 in a row. And I honestly think, and I ask that question a lot, that was the culmination of building over the last 5 weeks. That was their best performance of the 6.
Oh, 100%. And but Dan, I also think that they've come across 2 sides, Chelsea and Coringal, that haven't been playing that great of football either. Now, this
you can only play who you come up against.
No, I understand that. But their momentum and their performance has been better in the second half of the year than those other 2 sides. Now they come up against a good side in Dramana, who, and I know that the day that they played them, they didn't have a lot of their good players playing, and Dramana touched them up. I think Dramana will win, but I think that Langwarrin will make a good account of themselves.
4 weeks before the home and away season finished, and I know you made your comment then, Chris, and it proved to be correct. They were 2.5 games out of the top 5. We'd said 2 weeks earlier when they were making a bit of a run, and Rye were making a bit of a run, that the top 5 still seemed very open. And 2 weeks later we said, oh no, it's done and dusted. Hastings will finish 5th. And then 4 weeks later they get in, and then 2 weeks after that they're into a preliminary final. You couldn't have dreamt that, could have you?
That's great.
Yeah.
They got on a roll. Their confidence is up. like Blackers was saying though, that's all good and well, but there's two sides in second division that are head and shoulders above the rest, and they play a specific brand of footy. They're quick on the outside.
They've been head and shoulders up until now, but finals is a different kettle of fish.
Yeah, 6 weeks ago they beat them. They kicked 3 goals against them on their home deck and got done by 82 points or whatever it was. That's
Completely
only
different.
A month and a half.
They're a much different side now.
It's a different side. Yeah,
Is it 82 points different?
Yeah, I think there is. I think there is. Yeah, I think that Langwarrin will make a really good account of themselves.
Yeah, I've got no doubt about that, the way they're playing at the moment. I just don't think that that'll be...
I mean, they're both great clubs. They've been very good to us at GameFace in my time in this competition.
Hey, Dan, you've been very good to them too, though.
Oh, do you think I've been very good to them? Yeah, okay. Well, I'll take that praise. Thank you very much. Now, looking at the losing side, I thank Brett Dunn for talking to us. He wasn't keen.
Oh, that's always
but powers of persuasion from Coach and I were able to get him to come and have a chat. It was pretty tough. And
you're a man of the people.
We got 90 seconds with him after the game, and we mainly focused on how the club was at the end of this season. Confident the reserves can win it now, and I mean the under-19s are giving themselves another chance. It won't be easy if they get Red Hill. They've still got to get past Rye yet, but the reserves are through to the granny, so they're doing everything right.
Oh, look, I'm confident in Mike and his crew in the 19s that if they get there, they're going to, and I think they will, that they'll really give it a good crack. I wouldn't dismiss them. And the reserves, yeah, they're playing really good pressure footy, so they've sort of been able to contain the opposition and then get the job done. So, yep, there's plenty of guys still available for that didn't play yesterday, so it'd be exciting for them.
Brett, I'd like to thank you personally from GameFace for all your help this year. You helped us out in a couple of matches that we did in First Division, which was great, and you've always been willing to have a chat even in a difficult circumstance like today, and I wish you all the best. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks a lot, and thanks to all the Coringal supporters and people that turned up to every week, and especially the final series. Really good footy club, and just stick with us. I think we've got a fair way to go.
Brett Dunn, the coach of Coringal. Well, I mean, their under-19s are still alive, and their reserves are still alive. They're into the grand final, so they've done pretty well to have 3 teams make the finals. Not many teams have achieved that in second division, and they've managed to do it, so full credit to them.
And look, and I think, they finished 4th. They recruited really well in the off-season, getting a lot of their ex-Coringal players back to the club. But a lot of those ex-players, Hulks, are all in the older bracket.
Yeah.
They lack a bit of leg speed.
They do.
They lack a
Do you think they need to play more under-19s? Do you think there might be a disconnection between the under-19s and the seniors that, with the great respect to Mike Treat, he wants the under-19s to be there to try and win a premiership when really they should be developing? Look, I don't know that. I'm just asking the question.
You use those under-19s that are coming through as you're sort of around the mark, but you've got to really recruit some pace through that midfield. I don't know. It was a great effort from Dunny to go on after 2 losses. I would have been shattered as well. So good for him to have a talk. I just think
you'd still do it though, wouldn't you? I mean, you know how important it is that you have to do it for your football club.
I just think that they need to have a look at the way that they're going about it in terms of how their ball movement's structured.
There's a lot
and I think that the way that they've tried to play didn't work. I think he's got to be big enough to say, right, well, this didn't work. We need to
adjust
adapt. Yeah, we do.
There's a lot of opinionated people at the club too.
There is. On the ground and off the ground.
On the ground, I'm talking about. There's a lot of people that have coached in their own right, or are leaders in their own right, and I think that in itself is hard.
We have thought they've had a few too many chiefs, haven't we?
Well, I look at that.
When things go bad, everyone's got their own opinion.
Yeah, and why aren't we doing this, and why aren't we doing that? Well, you need to buy in, you know,
do.
And you need to stick fat, and and that's why you've got to understand that you've got to be firm on what you're doing.
Well, what's your space regarding what happens with Coringal in the off seasons? A few clubs, of course, we've got to keep an eye on. Somerville, they've lost some key players. They're still looking for a senior coach. That'll be an interesting role. Yeah, Pearcedale's another one, of course. Lee Stewart resigned there, didn't he? Rye, yes. Rye have announced Adam Kirkwood. Mick told us yesterday.
Adam Kirkwood.
Yeah, he's one of their senior players who's a big chance of winning their best and fairest again. Devon Meadows need a senior coach. There's a lot of coaches that are looking for jobs. Maybe someone like you, Blackers. Maybe someone like you, Chris. I know you're both busy people, but would you have a crack, Blackers?
Have a crack. Look, Dan, not at this stage. I've been enjoying my weekends
And there's also my great...
Fishing on the weekend, mate, wasn't it?
I had a wonderful weekend.
Did you? There's also my great mate, the coach, and he could be a good coach too, I reckon. And anyway, we'll just wait and see whether the clubs are keen. Yeah. He said, "What about me, the coach? The coach, our great producer."
Puts you in the right spot, doesn't he?
He does. He tells me what to do all the whole time. You'd love to be a fly on the wall on our trips. We travel everywhere together, the coach and I, the Leyland brothers. Do we argue left, right, and centre? Yeah, I'm Mel. Coach is Mike. Yes.
Really?
Well, whoever drove, or do they alternate? It was a long time ago, wasn't it?
No, it was good, wasn't it?
Yeah. Anyway, we'll take a break. We're just talking rubbish now. We'll take a break and back with more shortly on the GameFace Footy Show, 2nd Division. You First Real Estate. Call 59259278 or visit youfirstrealestate.com.au.
Pencon Garden Supplies and Mini Mix Concrete is a family-owned business that has served the Mornington Peninsula magnificently for more than 50 years. For all your garden and building supplies, concrete, soil, sand and mulch, visit Bart and the team at 58 Peninsula Avenue Rye or call 5985 2252 or 5985 2998.
Division 2 Seniors Best Players Award after the second weekend of the finals. Jonas Syverson of Red Hill, an outstanding performance, 6 votes, and he's on 11 with the grand final to come. Matt Jackson of Coringal will finish on 8 votes. He picked up 2 in his team's loss on the weekend. They're out in straight sets. Same for his teammate, Steve McInnes, 6 votes to go to 8 votes. Chris Irving of Red Hill didn't add to his best on ground performance from the previous week. He's on 6 votes. Reid Crowe of Chelsea, of course, won't be adding because his team was eliminated in the elimination final. He's on 6 votes. Sean Herdman of Langwarrin, 6 votes in the first week, didn't get any in the second week, but his team's into a preliminary final. And Sam Gertz of Dramana, 6 votes to move to 6, with Dramana playing a preliminary final this week. In the reserves best in Division 2, Matthew Mitchell, Chelsea, 2 votes to go to 8. Matt Silver of Chelsea, 6 votes to go to 8. John Marshall of Dramana didn't add and won't be adding again. He'll remain on 6 votes. Richie Mathers of Coringal didn't add, but his team still has a grand final to come in the reserves. He's on 6 votes. And Sam Fogarty, of course, Langwarrin out. He'll stay on 6 votes until the next season. Now looking at the under-19s best players. Lachlan Haskett of Somerville will finish with 10 votes. He got 6 on the weekend. Jackson Allen Rye, 5 to move to 9. Connor Vincent of Somerville, 5, and he'll remain on 8. Campbell Robbins of Rye didn't get any. He's on 6. Nathan McCarthy, Crib Point, didn't get any, of course, with his team out, so he'll remain on 6 until next season. Nick Mason of Somerville, 6 votes. And Zach Saunders of Coringal didn't get any, and he'll remain on 6 votes as his team takes on Rye in the preliminary final. This is the GameFace Footy Show, Division 2. Yes, we always look after Tony Blackford, and it's always wonderful to have Blackers on our show. He's out on the road last week. How'd you enjoy that, Blackers? Out visiting a few of the clubs. Well, you did a great job.
I'll tell you what, Dan. I sat in the big car. You've sat in that big car.
Oh, the big Jeep?
Yeah.
The white Jeep?
No, the Range Rover.
Oh, the Range Rover?
Yeah.
What is a Jeep? It's a Jeep Range Rover. Yeah.
And Glenn goes, "Oh, do you want the massager on?" I said, "All right, Glenn."
Has he got a massager in the car? Well, he hasn't offered that to me yet. I've sat in the front seat a few times.
Oh, it's quite a rouse.
Did you enjoy that?
Dan? Yeah.
What?
That was wonderful.
So you were nice and relaxed by the time you got to visit a few clubs?
Yeah, I saw Cappy and
Paddy Swain.
Yeah, and the boys at Mount Eliza. It was really
happy
good.
to see you.
Yeah, they were, mate.
That's good.
You were great at that. You might do that full time like Maury. You get off the panel, mate. And
look at
where is Maury going? Isn't he going to the Stingrays as an assistant coach? Good on. That's what he wants to do. He loves the under-19s, under-18s, doesn't he?
Yeah. And it gives him an involvement with a group of young guys that are all committed and want to be there, Dan.
Yeah.
And I think for himself, the exposure will be wonderful for Josh Moore.
It will.
Now, looking at coaches, the Division 2 Seniors Coach of the Year, you can vote on Facebook. And Aaron Pacey, with his job that he's done at Tyab, well out in front, 330. Brad Johnson. Ricky Johnson, what a good footballer he was for the Bulldogs. 62, going well. He's had a great year for Dramana as they're into a preliminary final, and Jamie Miller's got his team into a grand final. Now, Jamie has done an outstanding job at Red Hill. I know, Blackies, you did a great job. We did praise you last week, but Jamie has continued to mould that team into a premiership contender as they're hoping to win their first flag since 1990. They're into the grand final. But come on, Red Hill supporters. Only 33 votes for Jamie Milo, considering the job he's done.
He was great last week talking to us.
He was.
I was really impressed with Jamie.
Oh, and look, Jamie's been a been around the traps for a long time, and he spent a lot of time down with Paddy Swain and Simon Goosey down at the Frankston Dolphins. He's gone off and coached in his own right. You know, and you look at those three blokes, and they're, you know, you say Josh and Blake now have advanced a little bit further, but in the home and away season, we're talking about the home and away season, and these three guys are the guys that have really got their clubs into a wonderful position.
Oh, they certainly have.
We thought that was a really good naming when we announced it, didn't we, Holt?
I don't give me any credit, mate. It was you. It was all you.
Yeah, but I remember.
And you'll be making the decision, won't you?
I'll make the decision. But I think that...
No input from me?
Yeah, bloody oath, Dan.
Oh, good.
Yeah. But I think Aaron has done a great job at the Tired Football Club.
Terrific.
I think Ricky Johnson, 17-1. And I think Jamie Molo, and now that he's got them into a grand final. I think
they've lost one game since the halfway mark of the year.
Terrific.
I think three of them deserve to be nominated.
Well done.
Let's look at selections. We'll start with the seniors. Preliminary final day in the second division. The game being played on Saturday. And it's going to be Dramana and Langwarrin. Look, Langwarrin have been outstanding, but I wonder whether it's a bridge too far. The injuries to Tottenham, not sure how fit Jesse Murphy will be, but he'll be endeavouring to play, do everything he can to play. Shane Patterson has had injuries too, and I saw even the best player for them on the weekend had a very heavy bandage on his knee and had blood pouring from that bandage as well.
Parker?
Yeah, Michael Parker. Yeah.
Source says he's travelling. Big Norton.
Well, he's going beautifully. The big fella. He was given votes by his peers for being best on ground. He probably should have got it. He was superb.
It's a good concept, isn't it, Dan?
He didn't. I love it. He didn't think he played anywhere near as well as he played the previous week, but he had two big ruckmen that he thought he struggled a bit against, but I think he's playing himself down. I thought he was superb again. He took a couple of face-saving marks in the last quarter when Coringle made a mini comeback because of the fact that Langy was struggling a bit with their rotations. He's a very good player, Matthew Norton.
He's very good. He would be one of the best ruckmen in the first division if he was up there.
Is he one of the keys if Langwarrin is to win?
Well, you have, just sorry to interrupt, you have a look at the form of Langwarrin Football Club. In the first half of the year, Norton wasn't playing. Was not playing. But then he came into that side. And
was he injured or away? Or?
No, he was injured.
Injured, right, okay.
So he didn't play early part of the season, and then he came in a couple of weeks. It took him a bit of time to get going, but once he hit his straps, Langwarrin hit their straps.
But look, and to an extent, Langwarrin, I love them. They've done an extremely good job to get.
They set themselves up, and with their recruits,
fantastic job. They have.
They'll be seen as one of the favourites next year, won't they? I wonder how that particular expectation will sit with them.
But that won't matter Saturday.
No, it won't.
That won't matter Saturday because Dramana will bounce back, and they'll bounce back hard.
Yeah,
and
I think Dramana will win.
I think Dramana will win quite.
They've been top team for a reason.
Again, I don't want to detract what Langwarrin's doing or they've done the last 6 weeks. Great.
Yeah, me too.
Dramana will touch them up on Saturday.
If Langwarrin they get the job done, and I've been talking about how good that theme song's been, and there'll be the obviously the shaking of the beer cans, which will fog up coach's lens, as I was trying to explain before. I didn't do a very good version of that, did I? Yes, that looked terrible, didn't it? Terrible. Thank you very much, Chris. It was a good effort. I mean, I'm going to say that's what I was trying to do.
Great hand.
I tell you what, that'll be absolutely unbelievable if they happen to win the prelim. But we think Dramana will get the job done. Now, in the reserves, Chelsea and Hastings. Hastings have done a lot right. To finish on top of the table.
They only just lost by
4 games. They dropped in the home and away season, and they were pretty close against Coringle in a low-scoring scrap. But Chelsea are finding a way, aren't they? I think Steve Gardner's got this us against them mentality, and every game, of course, is a last chance to learn, and they're rising to the occasion.
I'm riding the wave. I think Chelsea can get up this week.
I think
they can
for Hastings. I think Hastings, you know, they lost to Coringle in a tight game by 3 points. I think that they'll rally. I think that they had the week off. I don't think that last week's game will hurt them. I think that, like the Dramana game, I think that Hastings finished on top for a reason.
And in the under-19s, I think Coringle. Full credit to Rye for what they've done. They beat them by 1 point. And I know Coringle had a chance to win that match and didn't win it, but they got off to a slow start. They've got to start better, and that's what Mike Treat said to me yesterday, that we must start better. They didn't start well against Somerville, but they had a bit too much class for Somerville with their second half was very good. I think they're just a better side than Rye, and Rye have got a few players back from the seniors. I know Rye will have confidence, having beaten them a couple of weeks ago. But I just think Kooringal are a better team.
It makes a difference too when your senior side and your reserve side are sort of having the week off or out, that the focus suddenly gets drawn on you, and it gives those kids an extra step. Their senior's been out for a little bit now, but I think Kooringal get a real lift from that focus during the week. I think that's right.
Yeah, and I agree. I think Kooringal were the second best side for a reason. I think that they had a hiccup, and I think that they expected to beat the Rye Football Club first up. That didn't
That's
happen.
what Mike Troop said. He said we just rolled up expecting it to happen. We'd beaten them comfortably earlier in the season. I think they scored one goal in their previous encounter going into that qualifying final. It's all about attitude in football, isn't it?
It is indeed.
You mightn't have the ability, but you've got to have the attitude and you've got to have the care, don't you?
So for that reason, Dan, I'm going for Kooringal.
Yes, me too.
Turn the table.
Now, the Division 2 footy show, our last show for Division 2 will be next Wednesday, leading up to the grand final. The grand final footy show will obviously have representatives from the teams in the grand final, which at this stage will be Red Hill in the seniors, Kooringal in the reserves and Red Hill in the under-19s, and it'll be held at the Grand Hotel in Mornington. What a good pub that is.
Just around the house.
Yes, okay, Chris. And then we'll go to the after party at Chris Holcomb's place afterwards, and that'll be next Wednesday, the 5th of September.
And I think Gary McDonnell's going to be there too.
Oh, is he?
Is he? Dr. Death to rub you down.
Dr. Death. Well, I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be a couple of big weeks for me, Coach. I'll have to carry me home.
Oh, mate, you'll be great. You'll be loose as a goose, mate.
I'm always loose as a goose, you know me.
You'll find those points.
I'm the most relaxed person that you've ever met in your life. Boys, thanks for joining us on Division 2, and we'll catch you again for the grand final show next week. Take it easy.